So, interesting morning so far in this euro dollar. We'll talk about a couple of things going on here in a second. First thing is when I started watching this thing around here, basically it just started working its way up, and it found there was some resistance near the whole number. You know, the 2950 area, which I was posting in Twitter. Now, you know, we didn't have any pivots nearby. The nearest one was like at 79. So the only thing we really had in terms of a level was that whole number, and it didn't touch the whole number and sell off. It kind of fooled around above it a little bit and then sold off. Okay, the 5 minute was really the only place where the setup occurred. Okay, now since then, you know, we touched this pivot again, sold below it. There was never any signal here to go long. The next level is going to be the next whole number, which is 29 even. Okay, so we'll see how we do in that area there. We fall below that, we're looking at the pivot at 2880s. Okay, now just reviewing the news real quick here. You know, we had like pretty much no news. It was very light news. I mean, we had here at 8:15 it was Canadian housing starts. That doesn't really mean anything. At 10 o'clock we have the nicer GDP estimate for the pound. Then we have for the dollar, we have the IBD tip economic optimism, and that's it. So we don't have any major news today. No catalysts worth talking about here. Okay, so you know, again, when you have these situations, like these things happen. Things, for whatever reason, sellers came in up there. Maybe somebody said something. Maybe there was some surprise news, unscheduled news. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter. What matters is we were near a level. Okay, there was a bearish close over here. This failed to make a new high. Now this, of course, there was nothing over here on this, but they don't both have to match. Just one of them has to give something. So this is where it was apparent. The only thing you could have looked at really in this area was futures volume. Now let's take a look at the S&P. Okay, because this selling didn't start until the S&P decided to sell. Now let's take a look at the S&P on a 15-minute chart. While the euro was messing around that high, okay, trying to push higher, the S&P at the time was doing this. Okay, and then finally this thing gives a bearish engulfing candle. That's on the 15-minute chart. On the 5-minute chart, the whole time, I mean, I was watching this thing, the whole time this thing just kept going higher and higher and higher, and for whatever reason it stopped and reversed. Now as this thing was going higher and higher, right, making higher highs and higher lows, the euro was struggling. It was struggling to go higher. So as soon as this thing turned, that was the beginning of the selling in the euro, the real selling, or the, I should say, the aggressive selling. Because if we look at the two charts together, these are both the 5-minute charts. Okay, around the same period of time. So as soon as this thing went, euro fell apart. As this thing was making these highs, euro was consolidating in here, struggling. This thing should have made clean new highs. Okay, should have made a beautiful new high when this thing was pushing highs, but instead it struggled. Right? You know, then you had an indecisive candle, then you had a bearish close. That bearish close existed while the S&P was still fooling around up here. So it was relatively weak at the time. Right, so that was a nice little heads up. Now in terms of S&P support and resistance, I mean, we had a lower high over here. This is a 30-minute chart. We had this shooting star candle which closed. This thing never made a new high, never went up to this pivot point. Right, and it's been fooling around the daily pivot, which means the daily pivot hasn't really been a support or a resistance. So in terms of this thing, we're looking at 1445 or even slightly lower as possible a buying area. This overall formation, it's a corrective formation, but it's still a bullish correction. Because look, this move was bullish. That's not a bearish move. We're just correcting it. Okay? So there's nothing, it's just a temporary correction in my opinion.